Am I the butthole for celebrating my anniversary despite what happened at my wedding? My husband and I had our wedding last year. The venue was beautiful and bordered a lake. Unfortunately, during the reception, one of the young children snuck away from their parents and decided to go for a swim, despite not being able to. This was tragic and devastating, and obviously cut the day short. We haven't really spoken to the parents since then, as we weren't close to them aside from seeing them on holidays, which haven't happened this year. We are still Facebook friends though. When our first anniversary came, I made a post celebrating our anniversary with a few wedding photos. I didn't think anything of it, until the comments came flooding in. I woke up to 30 comments and 15 missed calls. The top comment was from the mother of the child, who was outraged about it. She wrote a very long comment about how my post was disrespectful of the tragedy that had happened that day and how dare I post that and not mention her child, and of course talking to her first. 30 comments later, and it was clear that the entire family had clearly started to take sides in a battle I didn't realize I created. As of today, we're at 150 comments. My friends and my parents are involved too. Half of his family is screaming for me to take it down, apologize to the parents, and show more respect, possibly by even celebrating our anniversary on a different day. Some of the family think that we should still be able to celebrate our anniversary on the actual day, but just keep it offline to keep peace. I don't think I did anything wrong with my post, and I feel like we should be allowed to celebrate our anniversary just like anyone else. I'm not celebrating the tragedy, I'm celebrating my wedding. Am I the butthole? Edit. I have changed the post to only be visible to me and deleted all comments to try to stop the arguing, but from the email we just received, those comments were just a symptom of a larger problem. My mother-in-law sent us an email with, from what I can tell, roughly 3/4 of my husband's family CC'd on it. His parents, grandparents, and the parents of the child are not only in the different day camp, but they are also demanding a second wedding. According to them, they'd kept their silence for so long due to shock and being distracted by everything else going on this year, but they feel that because of what happened we aren't really married yet in the family. They understand that weddings are expensive, so they, husband's parents, offered to completely pay for this second wedding that will be the real wedding in his family's eyes, and because it may be a year or two before this can be done safely, they will tolerate us living in sin indefinitely due to the circumstances. My husband hates arguing with his family, and I'm not sure how I would even approach this with my family without being laughed out of the room, so now we need to talk about what to do with this. Edit 2. I've never had this many calls in my life. My husband and I have tried to read through this and have gotten a chance to actually talk this out. We have avoided this subject for a long time because it is not an easy thing to think about, and it is not like this year hasn't had stresses of its own. He agrees that while something does need to happen, it is a priority that they start and continue to acknowledge that we are in fact married. I have had a conversation with my parents at least, who were exactly as they always were, but they are now aware of the full situation, and while they still would not support a full second wedding, they understand that I have an exceptional situation and so something exceptional needs to happen. I replied to my mail only to a group Zoom call with us, my parents, and my husband's sister-in-law to set up that sets up all of their technology things, which will happen later in the day. I feel like I should address some things. I did send condolences and attended the funeral. By not speaking, I meant since the funeral. I mistakenly thought that would be implied. I am not heartless. I was trying to avoid the rules with the euphemism, and it is not an easy day or thing to talk about. I was trying to keep things to just what happened, which I can see coming across very strange over text. I am also aware that I write very formally, but that's not something I can change. The pictures and caption didn't reference the wedding itself, and there is no lake visible in the pictures. I only used ones that had just my husband and I in them, and I have sent pictures of just the bridal party before. I never have or will post pictures of the reception. My husband and I are looking ideas of how to fix this. ESH, but for crying out loud, take the post down. On one hand is a family with a dead child facing the 1-year anniversary of their loss. Unimaginable pain. On the other hand is your need to have people comment on how pretty your wedding was and tell you happy anniversary. Their pain far outweighs your needs for likes. Why you didn't block the family of the dead child from your post is beyond my ability to comprehend. As soon as you saw it was causing pain, you delete the post. Of course you can celebrate your anniversary all you want. Just not visible to these people who have a dead child. Show compassion. I have to agree here, we weren't that close isn't exactly a great excuse for ignoring that someone who will see this post lost their child during this event. I don't live on Facebook and only really post for events and for Messenger also this. This is what original post wrote in the comments. They aren't even very active on Facebook but needed to post a memory of this particular event. Okay, with the benefit of the doubt, they may not have realized this would upset the parents, even though I find it hard to believe, and they aren't familiar with the option of making the post visible for certain group of people only. But after they refused to take it down, that's where original post became an ah. I cannot understand how original post thought this would be okay. It shows a total lack of empathy and awareness. She should have removed the post and apologized immediately. How could you not associate your wedding with the death of a child, every single year? So yes, original post is the ah. As a kid born on September 11th, am I allowed to celebrate my birthday? It's not about it being on the same day. It's about it being the same event. You're comparing apples and oranges. It's more like if you had a birthday party in the bottom floor of the towers on that day. The towers came down, and you and your closest friends escaped, but somebody else who attended your party did not. Then 1 year later, you post pictures of last year's party with some words about how much fun you had and how great it was, with no mention of the person/people that died at your party. This is a fantastic analogy. Not to mention they were important enough to invite to the wedding and collect a gift from, but not enough to reach out and check in after their child died at Op's wedding? This isn't a matter of coinciding anniversaries. This child died at Op's wedding. The wedding photos original post posted are of the scene of the death itself. This child died at Op's wedding. Is Op's fault? Nope, not at all. But if you throw a big party where a child tragically dies, you have to understand the optics of blasting out a public what a special and wonderful day. Post celebrating your party with no mention of the child. I'll just paste in a comment I wrote elsewhere in this thread. I'm not saying original post is at fault for the child's death. My only point is that a tragic death occurring in the context of an event will always taint that event forever. It's not about fault. If Cousin Jeff has a fatal fall off a cliff during a family reunion at a national park, both that event and the park itself will be permanently linked with trauma in the family's mind from that point forward. If Aunt Cindy posted on Facebook about what a great day the reunion was, because it was the first time she met her newborn grandchild in person, then Aunt Cindy would be a butthole, even though that was a special day for her. One thing to consider though is that is original post celebrating the event? Or her marriage? The event ended tragically, and is of course incredibly painful for the family. However, if original post was instead commenting on the anniversary of getting married, which is more likely, then it isn't about the event, but about the vows they took and the milestone in the relationship. She should be allowed to enjoy that, and not be browbeaten into staying silent, never celebrating it or making it a new day. Should she edit the post to not have it show to the impacted parents? Yes, for compassion and sympathy. But she shouldn't have to stay forever silent or change the date of a huge life-changing event that she and her spouse had. I think a very simple way around this would have been to celebrate the anniversary with photos of them during the year since they got married. If the only photos are only of the wedding, then I don't think you can say it was about the marriage and not the wedding. But that's not the event anymore. You don't get to imagine a death away just because it is inconvenient. That's what death is. It interrupts bullcrap like life-changing events because it is so much more real. Yes, the "we weren't they" close was deeply sad to me, especially in the context of original post explaining they've never addressed this with the family. Have they really never reached out and offered their condolence support? Was this public "our wedding was the best day of our lives" post the first time original post and their spouse have ever communicated with the grieving family about what happened that day? Unfortunately, during the reception, one of the young children snuck away from their parents and decided to go for a swim, despite not being able to. I am also aghast at how flippant this sentence is. If this had happened at my wedding, I would barely be able to talk about it a year later, much less make a cute little jokey sentence on Reddit. Obviously what happened is not Op's fault, but my God, have some sensitivity. How would you rather they word it? Parents were negligent in their supervision of their young child who they knew could not swim, even though the reception was by a large body of water that was easily accessible. Well, for starters, original post could say that the poor child died. At no point does she acknowledge that, she just hints at it. So child died because negligent parents weren't supervising her closely, even though event was on a lake and the parents knew the child could not swim. Now parents are upset that my wedding occurred on that day and are demanding I throw another wedding to make up for the original one they ruined. Regardless of fault, which you are emphasizing here via negligent parents, the commenter is simply saying original post could have been more sensitive in how they worded it. And I agree. Original post is weirdly dismissive of the incident, again, not that original post is to blame, or that demands for a second wedding are reasonable, but like, a child died. A child drowned. Even if everyone was like yes the parents are horrible for not eagle-eyeing their kid, Op's attitude is strange. I didn't think she was dismissive of it. She found it difficult to discuss and so talked around it. Frankly, I'm shocked she was able to look back on the event fondly. If I was at her wedding, I wouldn't remember anything about how beautiful it was or what her dress looked like. It would be the day a child died. If I saw them post the pictures from before the kid died acting like it was a joyous occasion, I would be disgusted. Honestly, if a child died at my wedding, I don't think I'd even be able to acknowledge my own anniversary, not even privately. I don't think I'd ever get over it, even if I barely knew the kid. I wouldn't have a second wedding, I'd just call it and revert back to an engagement anniversary or dating one. I can't comprehend salvaging anything joyous from the day. Unfortunate, due to it being their wedding plus the cost spent etc., but I just couldn't. That happened to my friends sadly. They celebrate their dating anniversary instead. It's a dark day for them and their families. She calls it the day her heart was whole and ripped to shreds in the same time frame. Edit. Thank you for the award. I'm so sorry something similar happened to your friend and their family. Thank you. She and her husband have beautiful hearts though and have done a lot of good from a place of pain. The whole family has. They're truly angels on earth. Uda. Something awful happened at your wedding. It wasn't your fault, but it's something that you have to deal with. I'm very sorry that you will never be able to have a normal anniversary, but that's a small burden compared to having to deal with the loss of a child. Those that say you should just celebrate privately are absolutely correct. Do not put anything celebratory where the grieving parents can see it. People have been celebrating anniversaries for centuries before Facebook existed. You'll survive without making public announcements of your love for friends to see. I can't believe it took this long of scrolling to find that, Uda. I think your last sentence hits the nail on the head. My mouth was seriously hanging open until I got to this comment. I can't imagine myself even wanting to celebrate my wedding anniversary publicly after something so horrifically tragic happened that day. It's a memory I would try my hardest to push into the back of my mind forever. I truly cannot believe original post hadn't thought of how those pictures might hurt those poor grieving parents or gee I don't know, the rest of her husband's effing family? They all are still dealing with this. She speaks of this child's death like it's just an oopsie that ruined her wedding. I'm convinced this sub is full of teenagers that have no idea what it is like to lose someone or deal with any real-life issues. There are a lot of times on this sub where I read someone's post and am horrified and I look at the comments and they are like not the butthole totally justified in your reasoning. It just comes off as people who have never had to deal with any real tragedy in their life. Yeah, a lot of posters in here follow the rules that if it's not directly your fault that something bad happened, or something is not solely and specifically your responsibility, then you can't be TA at all. It's definitely a very immature perspective to me. Zero appreciation for the fact that you can care about something and someone even if you're not the direct reason they're upset. Really. Zero empathy, and to be honest that's like 99% of the problem we have as a whole right now. I agree with your entire comment. I wouldn't want to celebrate that day anymore if a child died at my wedding. I also would not be able to just post something about the day and ignore that tragedy. That's just me personally though. My wedding day was not a special date, so if this were me I'd have a big party on a different date, acknowledge the tragedy and say this is when we will celebrate our anniversary going forward. So for your entire life, one of the most important days of your life will forever be marred by an unfortunate accident that ended in tragedy? Can't talk about it, can't celebrate it, suppress the memory deep down inside. These all sound like very healthy solutions to dealing with something you had no control over. It was just an oopsie, and it did ruin the wedding. That doesn't mean it was any less horrific, or any less tragic, or those parents are dealing with any less pain. But none of that is Op's fault or responsibility to tiptoe around for the next 60+ years. No, it's not her responsibility, but she asked if it made her the butthole, and in my opinion it most definitely does. Nobody is saying original post can't celebrate her anniversary. What I'm saying is that it can be done with tact, off of effing Facebook for a whole grieving family to see. These aren't just random people. It's her husband's family that just lost a tiny, beautiful soul in a disgustingly unfair way. I can't imagine lacking the empathy to truly not understand why this situation is inappropriate. If likes on social media is more important to y'all than being a kind and sensitive person, go right on ahead. Still makes you a butthole. ETA, had this story been told from the grieving mother's point of view, I bet these answers would be a hell of a lot different. Did you really just refer to the child dying as in it was just an oopsie, honey? An oopsie is red wine on a white carpet or overdrafting your bank account because you wanted McDonald's. This is a effing tragedy, and yes, it sucks big time for original post, but she's going to have to suck it up and deal with it, cause at least she's still effing alive. One of the most important days of your life. People really need to calm down about weddings. Legit. I just had one. It was a nice party. Small cause COVID. But it's over now, and honestly the most important days of my life were when I met my husband and gave birth to my kids. People act like their wedding defines them. It's just a party. It is one of the most important days of their lives, but it is also the parents of the dead child, and one evidently outweighs the other. Celebrate it and don't post on Facebook? Have a nice dinner and buy each other presents. Hell, you could even post the dinner and presents on Facebook. Putting up pictures of the scene of a child's death where the parents can see it is inconsiderate. You became the moment all hell broke loose on your post, and you didn't have the decency to delete it completely. The fact that original post cannot actually say the words "a child died at my wedding" means that they know how upsetting this is, yet chose to put this into the face of the grieving parents. OODA to the max. They can't say that the child died. It doesn't fit regulations in the sub, so he wouldn't be able to post it on our/AITA. Also, he mentioned in the post he wasn't trying to start the argument. They weren't celebrating the death of the child as you suggested, they were celebrating the marriage. He didn't intend to cause harm. Reddit link. I think the wording is like this so the post isn't taken down for acts of violence. They said it the way they did so mods wouldn't delete their post. They obviously know a child died, they aren't stupid. Thank you for watching. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube. And share them with your friends. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. We welcome your comments below. Another of our videos will begin shortly.